Over the past 5 years, I've been on a journey. You see, for a big part of my career, I'd been what some people might call a high achiever. I was continuously told that it was all about me, about the potential that I had, about what I could achieve. I became a professor and an international consultant. I was even named a management guru. But in that world of ego, high achievement, and competition, I didn't feel happiness or contentment. So I stepped away from all of that to become an entrepreneur, a speaker, and an author, but also to be a better husband and dad, and eventually a champion master cyclist. I explained these life changes on the TED stage in Liège in 2015 in my talk, What is Success Really? But after the experience of Liège, I also realized that I had a deep yearning that wasn't about me at all. I realized that I had an inner passion for helping other people to thrive. And I'd like to talk about that discovery with you today, and to have you reflect upon the talents and passions that you might have that remain dormant within. Because after my TED Talk in Liège, I started to make more time freely available to others. And after a while, people started to call me a mentor. And to be honest, at first, I didn't really know what a mentor was. But then I came to understand. And over the past 5 years, I've mentored dozens of people towards being at peace with themselves and their lives. But as I've embraced the role, I've also realized that mentors are actually a pretty rare species out in the world. Because as a society, I think we've lost touch with generosity, of what might also be called non-expectant reciprocity. We're constantly keeping a mental tally of what we've done for others and expecting something in return. As individuals, maybe we've been burned by takers, or maybe we've worked in environments in which generosity was viewed as naive. That was my experience as a young man in a competitive work environment early on in my career in London. I remember one senior colleague telling me that I shouldn't be so generous with my time and my ideas, that by doing so I might be perceived as lacking ambition, that others would take advantage. Now, in hindsight, I realized that that guy was an asshole and the work culture we were in was toxic. But I listened to people like him, and for a big part of my career, I was a bit of a selfish asshole too. But for me, the inner drive to support others comes from the way I was raised, and especially by the influence of my amazing mother. I grew up with 6 siblings on a housing estate in a small town in Australia, and it was sometimes difficult to make ends meet. We lived in a neighbourhood with other families who also struggled. We knew people who were unemployed and single mothers with children who sometimes went hungry. But my mum always stepped up to help. And she instilled in me the importance of doing good. But because of the work environments I found myself in and the focus on individual achievement, I kind of lost my way. But I've learned that if generosity is part of who you are, if it is a dormant passion, that it's completely possible to reconnect with it. I've come to understand that to embrace mentoring others, you need to understand certain things. You need to understand there are pros and pitfalls of giving. Because to be a successful giver, you need to be a good judge of character, and you need to invest time in people who are also givers. Because there are assholes out in the world, and you need to develop your asshole radar. The other thing about it is you need to be a little bit disciplined with your giving. Because if you respond to every request for help that you get at the drop of the hat, then you never get your own work done. So what I've learned actually is sometimes we need to batch our giving. So on a very practical level, I set aside about half a day a week to help people, usually on a Thursday morning. So if you reach out to me after this talk and you don't hear from me immediately, don't panic, just wait until Thursday. The other thing is that we need to be creative in the way that we make time to give. I mentor an awesome guy named Patrick, and every 2 weeks we meet, not in some sterile office, we meet on our bikes, we take a ride together. And that's a great way to talk, to share ideas in a relaxed environment, in a packed agenda. But I've also mentored people over coffee, while cooking a meal for my family, while taking a walk. Look, there's research out there that says that giving can help you advance in your career, because you might develop a great reputation. You might develop connections that will help you along the way. But that kind of return is not guaranteed, nor is it immediate. At the end of the day, mentoring ultimately requires you to sacrifice your own time to help another. And that is why you need to understand your why and feel at peace with that. If it simply makes you happy to give, then that's okay. Because not everything in life needs to offer a measurable return on investment. But I'm still surprised by how many people whom I mentor say to me, "What do you expect in return? What can I do for you?" And my answer is always the same. Just pass it forward. Help others when you have the chance to do so. To truly engage with another, we need to be open, and we can't turn away from vulnerability. Last year, I started mentoring Hannah, the head of a corporate innovation incubator. In our first meeting, we talked about our families and what it was like growing up. We were able to connect on a completely authentic level, because both of us had grown up with a parent with mental illness. And once we understood that about each other, once we understood what made us tick, it strengthened the basis for a relationship. And that's what mentoring is about. It is about a relationship. I've mentored people from 16 to 62 years old. It's not about a hierarchy. True mentorship often means that roles are blurred between mentor and mentee. A couple of years ago, I met Bernard, an incredible bundle of energy in his early 60s. I saw the opportunity to help Bernard, to bring his incredible life story and wisdom to a wider audience, and ultimately the TED stage. But I quickly understood that our relationship was a two-way street of support and growth. We've become close friends, co-authors and collaborators. And I was so proud seeing Bernard on the TED stage that I cried. You see, if you can't show people that you care, then they're unlikely to feel safe enough to be truly themselves. I met Deepa on an executive education course in India, and we felt an immediate warmth towards each other. Our meeting in Mumbai was followed by several video calls in which Deepa revealed her dissatisfaction with certain aspects of her life and her career. Our heartfelt talks about our respective life journeys revealed that Deepa was experiencing something that I'd suffered from in my own career: the imposter syndrome. And through our talks, Deepa was able to build self-confidence, and she went on to make some professional and personal changes that made her a much happier person. You know, sometimes people approach me for advice and support because they think that I must have all the answers. So I think it's very important to have humility, to dispel that myth early on. We need to have others appreciate that we are imperfect. A few years ago, I was approached by Peter, a childhood friend with whom I had not had contact for more than 30 years. From very humble beginnings, Peter had gone on to be the co-founder of a global technology company. But he was unhappy with the toll that his job was having on his family and his health, and he wanted to embark on a new path. And we talked about that, his dreams, his ambitions. But in addition to the need to address his doubts and fears related to such a massive shift, Peter also had a lot of questions about the best way to exit the company. And I quickly acknowledged that I couldn't offer any practical advice on how best to do that. It was beyond the realm of my experience. You know, the other thing is, of course, you will sometimes meet assholes, maybe even narcissists. And a narcissist doesn't need a mentor. They need a psychiatrist. So just point them in that direction. The title of this TED Talk is Give to be Great, but I hope by now that you understand the nuance of those words, because being great is not just about achieving distinction or honor in your own career. It is also about helping others to thrive. And of course, it is also about an emotion. Because when we truly give of ourselves without any expectation of personal gain, and when we see people that we've supported advance in their lives, it just feels great. So please don't come to the end of your life thinking what you could or should have done to make the world a better place. Do you understand the talents and passions that you have lying dormant within you? And will you have the courage to embrace them? Please give to be great. Thank you very much.